Hello, disruptors, and welcome back to Mindset Mastery Moments, where mindset meets momentum. I'm your host, Dr. Alisa Whyte, your number one mindset disruptor. And today we are diving into the intersection of fate, business, and branding with a powerhouse woman who's changing the game for fate-driven entrepreneurs. In a world where clarity is currency and confidence is king, our guest today is helping thousands rise with both. Whether you're stuck under the six-figure ceiling or simply unassured about how to show up as your fullest self online, this conversation will help you shift everything. So grab your water, your protein shake, whatever you need, and take a seat. And this is your time as an entrepreneur to learn from one of our industry best fate-driven entrepreneur coach leadership. We're talking about the beautiful lady. If you're watching us, her name is Miss Maya Elious. She is a business and faith coach, branding expert, and a go-to mentor for Black women of faith. She's talking about me. She's here for me. She's here for me. And I'm going to be selfish. Yes, I will. But I will share her with you. I promise. She is ready. She's there and ready to serve women who are ready to gain visibility, own their voice, and scale sustainability. Yes, scale sustainably. You know, a lot of us are bold and ready, but we don't have a clue about scaling. AKA me. For more than 15 years, she helped thousands break past mindset blocks, clarify their message, and scale beyond 100K while staying rooted in their values. And you know, in Mindset Mastery Moments, we talk about core values, true belief, and staying in authenticity. Yes, Maya does that with her clients. You may have seen her on the Social Proof podcast, Full Transparency, or Melanin Money. I didn't know about this until I met her. And today she's here with us. Maya, welcome to Mindset Mastery Moments. We can't wait for you to unleash all the greatness you possibly can in 1 hour to help us today.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for that incredible intro. I'm excited to see what we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely. And I know you're ready. You've been born ready and you've been doing this season for 15 years. Maya, why don't you tell us exactly who you are in your own words and what you do and why you do it?
Yes. So as you guys already know, my name is Maya Elious. I am a personal branding strategist and a business coach at my company, Built to Impact. We primarily work with women of faith and female entrepreneurs, helping them take their gifts and their expertise and package it into a high-end service-based business. And my unique gifting is in messaging, helping women articulate the value in what they do in the marketplace so they can get high-end clients and get to six figures as efficiently as possible. I love what I do. I'm able to do this through coaching programs, through live events, and I specifically work with women of faith because we have this thing where we really want to be humble. And I think humility is a beautiful thing. But one thing that I tell my clients is that if being humble causes you to shrink, then be something else. Because we have misconstrued the definition of humility and we think that it means being quiet. We think it means shrinking. And so because I'm so passionate about that, I've built a brand where I'm teaching women how to use their voice, not only to make an impact into the world, but to impact their own lives in terms of creating legacy and building wealth for themselves and for their family. So I love being able to do that. And the power of words and the power of your message can allow you to build millions and build wealth and truly impact the world and your family.
Exactly. I love that you said impact, because impact and influence will obviously, if you do it with authenticity, you will generate income and create that legacy. Let's talk clarity and confidence. You say clarity in your message brings confidence in your mission. What's the first step to uncovering that clarity, especially for women who are multi-passionate or afraid of niching down? And again, that is me.
Yes, the niching down.
At least it was me at some point. I definitely dealt with that.
You know, I think a lot of women struggle with the niching down because we have such generous hearts and we're like, I just want to serve everybody. I can serve everybody. I could serve this person and that person. But there is a group of people that you are uniquely called to serve, and we need to be honest about that. And so really the first step of clarity truly is going to be honesty. Are we actually being honest with ourselves, or are we being a little bit of what the girls today are calling delulu? We're being a little bit of delulu, right?
I love it.
It works in some senses, but not when it comes the clarity. Let's get clear first and then delusional second.
Right.
Need to get very clear on, what are my gifts? What do I really love doing? What do I enjoy doing? And so when people are thinking about like, well, what's my passion? Typically people think like, what do I love doing? What makes me feel all good and bubbly inside, right? That's what
Yes.
we think about when we think about the word passion. But I challenge my clients to not just think of passion about what we love, but to also think about passion based on what we hate. Because
Mm,
is what we love and what we hate at the same time. And when
mm,
you think about the biggest movements in the world, they are typically derived off of hate. What is the level of injustice that you hate? What is something that really makes your blood boil? And
mm.
I can probably guess that seeing people with a lack mindset, seeing people with a poverty mindset, it probably frustrates you so much that you're like, I need to use my voice and put myself out there, because once these people know that they can disrupt their level of thinking, it can completely change their financial situation. That is what you need to dive deep into. Not, oh, I love talking about money. It's so fun and frilly. Like, no, it makes my blood boil knowing
Wow.
ecstasy. So, first, getting very clear and honest about what makes me angry, and then what do I want to see as a result of that. That's what's going to help you get clear. Then when we're getting clear on our audience, what we also have to be honest about is who's actually listening to me, right? Who am I resonating with?
Mm.
When I first started out as a web and graphic designer, I was making MySpace pages for like reality TV stars and models and stuff like that that wanted to be popular. But as my brand grew, I got an internship at it was like a healthcare management company. So that was my first time into corporate branding. And so because I did a little bit of corporate branding, something in my mind was like, oh yeah, my audience is going to be corporate men between the ages of 40 to 65, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, when I truly looked at the work that I was doing overall outside of that internship, it's like, girl, what white men do you know that's paying you consistently? Like, let's be for
Come
real.
on.
The land of delusional, and let's be honest, so then we can get clear, so then we can niche down. And when I
Yes.
looked at my PayPal to get the true honest answers, the people that were paying me were women specifically, Black women specifically, women of faith specifically,
Wow.
had purpose driven businesses or nonprofits. And so
Right.
when I was like, okay, these are the people who are paying attention. This is what my niche needs to be. Of course, as a graphic designer, I can help everybody. Of course, as a business coach, business principles are the same all around. They work for product based businesses, it works for influencer service based businesses, but I know who I am uniquely called to serve. And it allows for your messaging to be so much more targeted and specific. And so typically, people get very nervous about niching down because they're like, I'm leaving money on the table, right? That's really where our
No,
mindset.
you're
I
leaving
don't
it not niching.
Right. They think I'm
Trust me.
leaving money on the table, but niching down allows you to target where you want your money to come from so your money can become more predictable. And the people that you work with, it allows your projects and the work you're doing to be more enjoyable.
Exactly. I love that you said that. So let's use a part of my journey as a muse a little bit. I love to be as practical as we can so people can get even clearer. And like, I am the person. Okay. So I remember when I started off my journey coaching and even speaking. And I was that person who was like, why do I have to? I feel like, oh my God, I talk about leadership and I did talk back then. I wasn't clear, but I was like, I love to get people to change. Like people need to know they can bust through all the limitations and the things that they think they can't do and they can be it, they can do it. They just need clarity. They just need to know and be themselves and know that they're enough, right? And so that's it. So that's everybody, right? That could be anybody. Why do I have to pick a person? So
Mm.
now I'm focused more. I'm in this space now. I'm like, okay, I'm focused on women in transition. I'm focused on because they pushed me, and I was like, all right, women in transition, women who, might be empty nest syndrome, have a degree, and feel like they've been working for years, professional, been a lawyer, but don't want to do it anymore, having a divorce, all the things. I was like, it's me, it's me. I'm talking to the woman that was me. And that still was not niche down enough, right? So here's the question I have for you. What I noticed, I made a call and offered to help women just that are in leadership to clarify that and find fulfillment by connecting with their values and their true purpose. What I found though is we're supposed to be doing more like a leadership career coaching, and all these women keep coming to me and shifting the needle to more relationship and recovering or making it through the one they're in. I'm like, I'm not a therapist. It's not my job.
Mm.
But I'm a coach that can offer this space, and they keep leaning in. And that's where the breakthroughs were coming. So, Maya, would you say to me that it was very clear that I had a more specific niche in that moment? If you can just kind of walk us through what I'm sitting in that confusion, because there's quite a few women listening to you right now. That's like, that's me. And I'm making some money, but I'm not satisfied. And I'm also not really enjoying coaching like this.
Yeah. I mean, I think you are really trying to figure out what is it that people want. I'm selling this one thing, they're coming to me for this. And, when it comes to business, a lot of things are going to be trial and error. We're going to be testing things. We need to test who's coming to us, what price points are they paying? Do I enjoy working with them? Do I even still enjoy, doing this? Is it that you don't enjoy coaching, or is it that you don't enjoy coaching on topic? Is it that you don't enjoy coaching this group of women? So these are things to ask yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But I think another thing that's important for us to understand is, we sell people what they want and we give them what they need, right? So if we're saying, hey, I'm going to sell you career coaching because we know that's what people are wanting. And then they come in and you're like, yes, I am going to teach you career coaching, but let's talk about navigating professional relationships in the workplace for you to elevate in your career. So that's just an example versus selling relationships up front. And then people are like, I'm not interested in that. I want career coaching. So I think
Right.
understanding that, because I say that because when people come in our programs and we find that they benefit from the things that they need, we're like, well, now I need to completely change my messaging. And it's like, no, don't change your messaging, because they weren't aware of that. People will come
Ah,
to the program and I will give them other things that they need to consider, but they wanted to come to me because they're like, I want to build a six-figure coaching business.
right.
And so I remember when I started coaching the first couple of years, I was like, wait a minute, am I a life coach? I had that questioning too, where you're like, do y'all think I'm a therapist? And what I recognize is that you better have a level of personal development skills working with your clients,
Absolutely.
because coaches and strategists are different, right? I am a
Yes.
strategist, but I'm a coach. And where we differ are is strategists, they're going to give you the practical, the logical, the strategy. These are the numbers. This is the formula to produce an outcome. As
Right.
a coach, you have to be able to look at your client and see what they're saying and
Right.
see what they're not saying by what they're saying. You have to really
Exactly.
understand their mindset and the personal development. And so what I realized was that transformation came from teaching them this skill set, but also shifting their mindset,
Mindset.
where the coaching comes in. The truth
Mm.
is a
And that's
combination.
absolutely what it is that I do when it comes to the career coaching piece, which because I did a lot of work in the corporate space, I was able to really see. And I tell people, for me, it was a paid internship working in the corporate space as a career coach slash career counselor. And that helped me to see where my strengths as a coach come in and where my strengths as a strategist come in, and sort of how to balance it. So I also tell individuals who might still have to work to build their coaching brand is to put yourself in a position, either through contracts or a W-2, that you get to play around with those if you're not so comfortable going all the way out, and then have someone like you coach you through where you can replace that income and scale. Because that's, again, my story. This is my story, this is my song. And I honestly, just gonna be candid, I'm going to be consulting with you, Maya, obviously, to help me go to my next level in my journey. So that's a given. Let's talk fate and strategy, right? And this is also what I love. I mean, I see a lot of people who say they serve the same niche that you do, but the way you do it, again, because I do my homework, the way you do it with grit and conviction and dedication and commitment and drive, and you built a tribe, and you have these amazing events where women are truly uplifted. How has fate informed your business decisions, and what would you say to an entrepreneur that's struggling and in trusting the process with maintaining faith and having it as a strategy as well?
Yeah. I mean, my faith is everything to me. And it's so interesting. I just posted on Threads the other day. How we relate to God is how we relate to ourselves, and how we relate to ourselves is how we relate to others. And so it's not just a matter of saying, oh, I believe in God. It's really, what do you believe to be true about God and his character? That
Mm,
really matters. And, our faith journey is so beautiful. I have so much grace for just watching people grow. When I see somebody that's doing something I might not do, I just smile because I'm like, I know how I was in my 20s versus how I am in my 30s. I'm completely different. And
yes.
so in your faith journey, sometimes it's you're seeing God differently based on your level of spiritual maturity and based on your relationship with God. And
Yes.
so sometimes you will see people have an unhealthy relationship with God based on what religion has told them, and not what God has told them. And so they will misinterpret scripture, right? They'll say, well, money is the root of all evil, so I shouldn't want to make money for my business, or it's not good for me to want to have
Right.
money, or whatever it is. And so that's why I say the way we relate to God is how we relate to ourselves, and then how we relate to the rest of the world. And
So
so
profound.
because I took time to really just operate with a level of grace, operate with a mindset of abundance, it's helped me make more clear and positive decisions for
Mm,
business. And so I
mm,
stopped operating with this lack mindset of I'm not allowed to make money, or I stopped operating with the lack
mm.
mindset of I'm not allowed to use my gifts, to help people and make money at the same time. So I think the first thing is really just looking at the character of God. So, a question that I ask my clients is, if you believe that you serve a God of limitless abundance, why do you keep trying to limit your abundance?
Whew, come on. Bring it.
Already out there for us. And so the gifts, the rewards, the things that we desire, they are available to us. It's not, God's not hiding anything behind his back. He's saying, here it is for you. You unleash it and you unlock it with your faith, and you unlock it with forgiveness, and repenting and all of those things. But it's already there for you.
For
You
you.
now have to make the decision. Do I forgive others? Do I believe that I deserve this? Do I believe that it is available to me? And so you're going to unlock things for you based on your belief and your level of faith.
Absolutely. I love that. That is exactly the formula that I use. And I remember specifically when I stepped into the space officially in the role of speaker, coach, trainer about 5 years ago, I had three separate words of knowledge and wisdom where it was said to me, do not follow the blueprint of what the world is doing and how they're doing things, because I have called you to do things a certain way. And
Mm.
I'm like, well, what is it? Can you just tell me? And that for me, it was that trust and building. It was me deepening my relationship with him. Like, that's where religion and my religiosity needed to go out the door
Mm.
and just be a thing that was and not is. And I was, for me, pushed into a space where constantly I needed to keep this communication line not just open, but the lines clear, no signal, no interruption. And I'm not only talking about sitting in silence, prayer, meditation. I'm talking about while I'm in a busy street, traveling to a whole nother country, being willing to understand why we're delayed for 3 to 4 days, or not understand, but still be comfortable and at peace and at ease, knowing God is completely in charge and this is all working out for not just my good, but all the good of the people I serve. And that was like a whole nother level. That cannot be religion. Religion did not prepare me for that.
That's so good. That's so true. Just that staying connected part is so good. I love that.
Absolutely. So faith and strategy, faith as a strategy. I would love to encourage us to go back to your quote. Our relationship with God is a reflection. Say it again so we can have
Yes, yes. How we relate to or perceive God is how we relate to ourselves, and how
that.
we relate to ourselves is how we relate with the rest of the
It's
world.
that L. It's that L. I love
Yeah.
it. I was just talking about that last night. So let's talk about this big thing that scares us. We look at people and we hear it. I made 300,000. I made 100,000. I'm, you know, I coaching program is multi-million. You've helped thousands scale past that 100K, which I say to my clients that I work with in career coaching that it is actually required when we did the math, and I do this with all my students because I do cohorts, that just to survive in the state of Arizona, especially in Metro Phoenix area, you need to be making about $94,000. It's non-negotiable. Otherwise, you're struggling, right?
Yeah.
So 100K is not what 100K was 10 years ago. It's a necessity. Either you have double income to do that, but then most likely because you have double income, you have more expenses. You might have kids, you have dogs. But let's talk to someone. What's one mindset shift and one tactical shift someone needs to make that leap to scale into that 100K?
Oh, I mean, in terms of mindset, I think it's really just about believing that it's possible for you and that you deserve it. And I know as believers, sometimes we struggle with that word deserve because we associate it with the level of entitlement. But
Yes.
I look at and we also struggle with we want to be so much in integrity and sometimes we think integrity just means like, well, I'm such a good person that I'm receiving less than what I should be having. And when I look at integrity, I think about honesty. Again, let's come back to being honest. If you went to a job that you got a degree for, you know that the role should be paying you $20 per hour, and you sat there and you accepted $15 an hour, you're living out of integrity. You're not a better person because you chose less. You're actually living out of integrity because the true worth of that position based on what you've invested in yourself for that degree and your skills is a minimum of $20 per hour. And
Right.
so it's the same thing with business. If you take a look at your skill set and you learn how to assess value, and this is why a lot of us struggle with making good money and living a life with quality and value because we don't even know how to assess value.
Come on.
So when you learn how to assess value, you're like, of course I have $100,000 skill set. When I do webinars teaching people to build six figures, I say, first and foremost, do you believe that you have a skill set that can create $100,000 in a year? That's the first thing we have to believe before I even give you the strategy. I know my strategy works. It's not about my strategy working right now. It's about, do you believe that you even have this so you will be confident enough to then implement the strategy? So that is the first thing, believing that you deserve it because you are living in integrity, meaning you also know how to assess value and live honestly with receiving the value that you deserve based on the skill sets that you have.
Whew. Absolutely. 100% co-sign that. That is always the biggest thing to get. Do you believe? And every time I'm not getting results, my question is, what am I believing and what am I not believing?
Yes.
Period.
Yeah.
I don't, I know someone did something, didn't do something, whatever, but I can't do anything about them. What is my breakthrough? Because if there's someone in your life, in your business, in your journey that is creating a stumbling block, I usually say they're a mirror. They're mirroring something for you to see that you need to shift. So it's like, because if they're in your way, why don't you feel like you can actually replace them or just move past them,
Yeah.
period? Like what is it within your belief system that is keeping you back? So absolutely, I absolutely believe that. It's been the story. Again, this is my story, this is my song. I know exactly what you're talking about, what you said, and I know many of our listeners captured that. Let's talk about the visibility barriers. Many of our listeners feel invisible online or unclear about their brand. And how do you coach someone from being unknown to being unforgettable? Because I've been there. I remember coming online. Hi, I'm Alisa, and I'm here to tell you that leadership is influence. And do you have a growth plan? And I'm like, what the heck, girl? That ain't you. Because I had this speaking coach that told me I need to keep my hands down and my head straight and my shoulders. And I'm like, no, I am a South American woman of men and I have passion and I believe
Yeah.
what I'm going to say. So first of
Yeah.
all, I need to say something I believe in. It. There's where you guys have me on the podcast. I'm
Yeah.
just me. This is me. You catch me in a boardroom. I tone it down a little for the guys and let them run their mouths. And then I'm like, all right, guys, let's focus. Come in, come in, come
Yeah.
in. And I'm me. I'm going to say it the way I do. So this invisibility thing, make mention to us. How do we go from being unknown to becoming unforgettable as we speak to those people that we have decided that's our actual niche we're working with?
Yeah. I mean, I love what you said about how when you first came online, it was like, I'm proper and I'm poised, because that's sometimes what we think needs to happen. And I think as we see more influencers, we are seeing more people's personalities. But for the professional girlies out there, you can be professional and still be yourself. People, you
Yes.
can be professional and still have a personality. And
Right.
that is what people are drawn to with your personal brand. It's the
Right.
personality. So one, I would say learning how to master your voice, because one thing that I see is like people want to go viral. We do want the visibility, but it's like, are you being visible with the true version of yourself?
Come on
This is
now.
an important question to ask, because you are going to have to maintain this level of visibility. I don't want it to be like you go viral over something that's not you at all. And then now you're like, well, now I have to fake and play this role because all these people are expecting me to be this. That gets exhausting. Visibility and maintaining your presence is so much easier when you're
When
not having
it's
to fake
you.
it, when it's you. And so if you're struggling with using your voice, one thing that I would advise is allow people to pick your brain. And this typically is advice that coaches do not give you, because we have this like energy of like, I don't want people to pick my brain. I don't want people to get coaching for free for me. And I get that. This isn't about allowing people to simply use you. This is an exercise for you to practice using your voice, whether it's friends, whether it's peers. Allow people to book a 15-minute call with you, or you do like, let's say you do a 30-minute group call, and you allow people to pick your brain and you record it and you answer them as if they were your friends and if they were your peers, and you're
Yes.
answering in your voice instead of this polished professional voice that you think is acceptable. That is where you learn to practice.
Code switching is not necessary.
Code switching is not necessary, okay? Speak in your voice and you'll learn how to master your voice, and it takes practice. But then when it comes to visibility, you do have to be consistent online, and you have to also be okay with starting out bad. Like Dr. Alisa said, she started out, she's like, "Hi guys, I'm a leadership coach and we're going to talk about influence." When I first started online, I was very, "Hi guys, let's talk about the 5 tips of personal branding." I didn't know what I was doing. You have to
Right.
be willing to look silly.
Yes. And I still have those videos on my social media. You can go ahead and laugh.
I have them on my, if you go to my YouTube, I think my first video was
Yes.
20.
That's where you find them. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
still there.
And my pinned post on my Instagram is just talking about this 10-year journey. You see, like, my makeup was ugly. I had the worst wigs. My lighting was bad. Like, it was all bad. But guess what? I showed up consistently, and that's
That's
why people
right.
trust me today. So we
Yes.
got to be consistent first and foremost on our own platforms, and then people will trust you then to get on their platforms
That's
and
right.
start leveraging ads. So those are the my platform, other people's platforms, and then paid platforms are the ways strategically that I get visibility. But I have to be consistent across the board first.
Right. And you, like, I think the biggest lesson you gave this at the beginning of this response was be willing to have misfires. I don't say mistakes or fail, I say misfires till you find. Sometimes we don't know our voice because we're still figuring out our identity. And what we do have is clarity about what we're put on this earth to do and a whole lot of passion to do it. And my advice, and I'm pretty sure Maya, I heard her say it over and over, if you some things are taught, some things are caught, is do it. Just get your butt out there and be consistent and grow. Jump and grow your wings on the way down. That is one thing I learned from being a John Maxwell team member that stays with me. And so I have to remind myself every time I'm going to start something new or do something different or do something I don't even have the money to pay for yet. But I'm like, I'm getting the information. I'm getting ready. I'm going to find out I'm do everything I do because the money is there, as Maya said early. I just haven't unlocked it yet. And a lot of that fate walking is in the process of preparing for it. So when you get all the way up, you're like, God is like, okay, you're ready for the money. Now here, you've just turned the key. He's always had it for you, but you literally just turned the key to door number, whatever, where it says, oh, here's all the money you need to put this project in roll. And then the rest of the money to finish paying for the project might be on door number 6 or 7. But you
Yeah.
won't get there if your butt's not moving, period. And that's what we're saying to you today. Let's talk about branding that breeds belief. This is something that you talk about. What makes a brand faith centered? And I got, I got beef right? Because you don't get, if you're not a preacher's kid, then you're me, right?
Hmm.
Because none of my parents became pastor, but my mom was all the things.
Uh-huh.
And I was there. I was the girl who was the first baby to be christened in our church. I was there every day, every day, every day. So I can't even tell you anything without quoting scripture. I'm in cooperative rooms quoting scripture, but they don't know I'm quoting scripture because that's my bread and butter. However, like I
Yeah.
said, people don't realize what I'm teaching mindset. I'm teaching scripture, right? A
Mm.
lot of my sisters, because that's who we're speaking to today, they get out on this social media and they're supposed to be talking about bread, but God, I want you to wear the pum pum shorts and blah blah blah. How do we keep faith centered without feeling overly preachy? And how do we find that balance between that authenticity, still my voice, my faith, my belief, my values, and still being strategic? How do we do that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm
And
pretty,
sorry, Maya, I get raw sometimes. You know
yeah,
what pum pum shorts are, right?
I love it. Yeah. I be wearing the poom poom shirt. So you
I
probably
do too. I do too. So when they're preaching, like sis, I love God and we good, and I still wear shorts.
right. Yeah. I mean, my clients used to describe me as their coach that loves God and twerks. Like you would see me at my own events. Like you go see me in the shirt, you go see me twerking, but I have God in my heart by the way I live, by the actions that I
Right.
make and how I treat people. And we're all convicted accordingly. And I think that's something that's very important to understand. Like you're just not going to ever get a preachy version of me, especially preaching based off of my convictions. Now, I will guide you based off of scripture and based off of godly wisdom, but I'm not
Yes.
going to ever be preachy based off of my
Come
conviction.
on now.
God works on me uniquely in the season that I need, and then I do my best to discern what my clients need.
Come
And so
on.
sometimes when we get overly preachy, I think it's honestly just a lack of discernment, and it's a lack
Come
of
on now.
because it's not the time to preach. You're not preaching the right thing, or you're not preaching it at the right time or to the right people. So it's just a matter of being, very mindful. For me specifically, my faith shows up in my examples. And
Right.
so what as a personal brand, and you've probably seen this, people want to be a version of you. It's not that people idolize me, because I try to be very mindful of that. It's not about,
Yes. To
oh,
keep
I
them
want to be
out of
Maya
it.
because I
Yes. Very
idolize her.
important.
I like how I see Maya present herself. I like how I see Maya's confidence. I like seeing Maya's light. I like seeing Maya's discipline and consistency. These are things in alignment with God. My light, my consistency, my discipline,
Yes.
all of this is from God. And so when you see
Yes.
me showing up a certain way and then you see the fruit of it, then you're encouraged to do those things, not by what I said, but by how I live. And so I think that's what's really,
Exactly. And so I thank you for sharing that, because the thing is I don't even when I see it, it really, I think I get a little bit sad sometimes and I pray because I feel like it's a lack of probably wisdom and spiritual maturity somewhat for
yeah,
you to know, for you to have such a powerful tool to offer the world, and not understanding that your impact and your influence is best when you are the thing,
yeah.
and you don't have to overly remind someone to be the thing. Like I don't have to tell you John 2023. Heck, I don't know where in the Bible to find all the scriptures I know, but I know
Right.
a whole lot of them and I live them. But people are drawn to you, like you said, they're drawn to you exemplifying those scriptures way more than they need to talk to it. So when they attract you for brand building or clarifying their message or to scale their business, when they come in, they see God. And sis, that is the work. When
Yeah.
he said go into all the world and preach the gospel, you have to be around those people. And if you want to stick out like a sore thumb, you know what, honey attract bees, and things that sour attract flies, and I don't think that's the goal. So my thing is for you, if you're listening to us, please don't feel judged by me, and I know definitely Maya, I'm the one bringing this up, but understand, I say, is your actions, the actions that you're doing right now, or your inactions, are they allowing you to get the results that you want? than if they're not. If you're trying to scale to 100, that might be one of the things to look up. And that's why you have people like Maya in this world to support you and hold you accountable for what you say you desire. So if you desire that, maybe being as preachy will not be, or just go ahead. If God has called you to preach the gospel and be a full out evangelist on bringing people, transformation through the power of conviction and the word, then that's probably what your calling is. And that's what you should be scaling to 100K, not branding, right? So I'm just saying, just saying, I know I went off there, but let's talk about fate and fictions. How do you keep showing up when it feels like your fate is being tested in your business?
Oh man. Yeah, I mean that's where faith has to kick in the most, and this is where you have to develop that muscle of faith. It's like it's not really faith when it only feels good. It's like, girl, that's just motivation.
Come
It's
on.
faith when it doesn't feel good. It's faith when it's like, dang, last month I made 30,000. This month we're halfway through the month and I've only made 4,000. Like that's when your faith has to kick in. Then
Yes.
you need to go and look at scripture, look at affirmations, look at what God told you, look at what you're believing for. That's when you have to go look at those things. So yeah, that when I think about, because I mean, I've had a lot of success in my business and I'm so grateful, but it hasn't been a streamlined journey. It hasn't been like this. It's been like this and like this and like this and then like this. And it's like there's moments where it's like, dang, I would really like to get back up here. But it's also in those moments, it's like, well, what is God trying to teach you in this moment? You know, how you said, if I'm not producing what I want to produce, I know there's a blockage. And sometimes that blockage is there's a lesson that you need to pause, sit, and learn that lesson.
Unlock a new version of you for that next level. Come on,
Yes. And
sis.
it's so important to learn that lesson. Why? Not God doesn't just want to teach us a lesson for the sake of learning lessons. That lesson allows us to sustain the blessing that is coming. I know from experience that when you grow rapidly and you skip the
Mm-hmm.
process, which is what a lot of us are trying to do, and you get so much fruit without the lesson, you won't know how to steward it well. And it could be very damaging to your reputation if you're up here, but you only have the wisdom of right here. You're going to get knocked back down to here until you learn how to increase your wisdom to here. So make sure
Yes.
you learn the lesson and you increase your wisdom for sure.
Absolutely. That is so powerful. Let's talk about legacy and leadership and a little bit more about Maya. Tell us how your journey began as an entrepreneur, because a lot of us women are sitting here and sometimes we feel like, well, of course, she knew what she wanted to do. She knew her call and she just did it. I mean, yeah, her lighting wasn't right, but she had a header in the game. She had an education. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how you ended up in a space where you learn how to scale yourself so well, and now you're mentoring women to do the same.
Yeah, I mean, I
Disrupt our mindset here.
yeah.
A lot of us have these mindsets.
Oh, for sure. We see, our favorite influencers, or we see somebody who's successful online and we just assume, but they've always been like that, or they had it easy. And I don't find enjoyment out of victimhood or playing a
Yeah.
victim. But I think it is important to show like, girl, this was not always easy. This was very, very hard. It is laughable to think that I always knew what I was doing.
Right.
I started in the entrepreneurial space when I was 18 years old and I stumbled across it by mistake. And I was making MySpace pages in high school and then I started making them in college and somebody offered me money to make a MySpace page. And I was like, I cannot believe that somebody is going to pay me money to do what I'm doing for fun and for free already. Like, this is crazy. So they offered me $50. And let me tell you, at 18 years old in 2008, $50 is a lot of money, right? The 18
Yes.
now in 2025 might not think that because inflation is set up differently. But back then, $50 was a lot. Plus, I didn't
Yes,
have
it
any bills.
was.
My parents were still paying my bills and stuff. So I'm like, this is amazing. And
Right.
so that is how I got into that space. But I think one of the most challenging things for me was as I started to develop a little bit more and like, okay, well, people are paying me money. I should learn how to market myself. I should learn how to promote myself. Let me figure out how to get more clients. And that was all fun and dandy. But there was a place that I got in my college career where I was like, oh, I think I'm enjoying the idea of being a full-time entrepreneur more than I am college. Now, I'm first generation American to two Liberian parents. My parents are African, okay? Which means
Yay.
they came to this country for us to live the American dream. So
Yes.
they came here, they got married in Liberia, they came to this country and we're like, okay, we're going to start a family. Our kids will go to a good school. They didn't come to this country and make the sacrifices that they made
That's so
for
accurate.
their 20 something year old daughter to say she's dropping out of college to build websites. They didn't do that. They didn't make those sacrifices. And they also didn't think that their Lord and Savior died on the cross for me to be telling them I was dropping out of college. It was the scariest decision of my life.
From being I am not even first generation American. That's my niece and nephew from my bloodline that's sitting back here, those two gorgeous kiddos. I came to the US at 24, and I know you cannot think about it. You cannot even think about it. I
Like,
still couldn't. I was in my 30s, and my mom was like, when are you going to be done with all this coaching stuff that you don't make no money off of? Are you done yet? She literally asked me about 3 years ago, did you have enough?
right. And you almost can't even be mad. I mean, my parents are like, I love them so much. I was just out to eat with them yesterday. I see them once a week, at least every other week. Like, I love my parents to death. And they
Of
finally now
course. And
understand
those
me.
values is why we never quit. And excellence is the only thing. So if I'm going to do
Yeah.
dump truck driving, I would be a millionaire dump truck driver because of what they put in you.
For sure. I mean, my level of discipline is because of them. You know,
Yes.
my spiritual sensitivity is because of them. They have instilled so many great values in me, and I just think they thought I was going to use the things that they taught me with a college degree, and they didn't understand
Yeah.
that I could
Because
use it
that
for
was the
entrepreneurship.
key that unlocked opportunities for our family lineage and ancestors. And the ones that would be the reason why they thought and many times did not get to move to certain levels because they weren't able to get an education. So
Exactly. It was like, what was entrepreneurship to us back then? It was something impossible. It was what we saw other cultures doing, but education was key back then.
for us to
So
get
when
in
I
those
dropped out of
spaces.
Yeah. So when I dropped out of college, I was like, dang, this is really scary. This is really tough. But we
Yeah.
eventually got through it. I mean, I could do a whole podcast episode on
Yes.
that season right there. But I do think also during that time, I started to build my personal brand. I started to blog about my life as a designer, how much money I was making. That was another thing. My parents were like, why are you telling the internet how much money you're making? But I was like, I
The
wanted
people are going to
people,
come get you and rob you now.
right. I'm like, yeah, because they know where I live. But listen,
But
they
that
were just
is the life of an entrepreneur. We take a risk that normally, conventionally, individuals won't. So
100%. Yeah. So they're seeing me, my parents are seeing me live out my flaws and they're completely scared and they're wondering, like, dang, did I mess up? Like the word says to train up a child in the way they should go. And did we
what
do
did I
this
do
right?
wrong?
Yeah, and they truly did. They did train me up very well. And I think, something I reflect on for when I become a parent is really sitting with the Holy Spirit about where should my child go? Because I think my parents were training me up in the way they thought I should go and not where God was really taking me. And so thank God they instilled values that I was able to leverage in entrepreneurship and what I'm doing now. But I'm like, what could things have been like how they encouraged me? What could things have been like if they would have prayed just a little bit differently about what I was doing
Ooh,
instead of having fear
yes.
and doubt? And of course, I have so much grace for them, so I don't blame them for anything.
No, they
Actually,
were, that was the best they knew how to do and be
for
as a
sure.
parent. And they did it all from a place of love and wanting you to really excel. And so that's their worldview. And so that's what I talk about when it comes to that limiting beliefs is an entire system,
Yeah.
right? Because you could have taken that on and stayed in college and be in a dreaded career path that you would not excel at. And it doesn't mean someone did it to you because my parents didn't care enough to let me live my dream. It's not that. It is
Yeah.
just that was the best. So at some point, you have to realize that, okay, this is what I'm called to do.
Yeah.
And that is my responsibility and accountability, not just to myself, but to the mission of why God put me on this earth and honor that they are doing their best to help you be on that mission, but know
Yeah.
that this is your call. And sometimes it's there's radio silence in those relationships, but do you know and are you answering to the call and trusting the God that you serve to bring it full circle and make it make sense? No bitterness. You first have to not have bitterness. Let them have it if they want to, but you can't.
Yep. Yes, that's so true. And I mean, at the time, I didn't even have the spiritual maturity to know. Like, there was something that was pulling in me. There was something that was tugging me. Like, oh, even though you're disobeying your parents, there,
Right.
you know that you're doing the right thing. I didn't have the spiritual maturity to be like, yes,
It
this is
didn't
the
make
Holy
sense
Spirit.
in that way yet.
Yeah, for sure. But I think what was very helpful for me in that moment was having the right community, having the right people around me. Now,
Mm,
my parents were the doubters and they were the naysayers. So I needed to be around other people
leaning
to
somewhere
say,
else.
yes, you can
Yes.
do this. I don't need to be around a bunch of doubters. And
Exactly.
so I need somebody who can pray for me. I need somebody who could say, Maya, you can do this. And so being around the right people, that
Mm,
environment can completely alter your future.
come on. Tell us.
So you need to make sure you have the right voices pouring into
To
you.
your ear.
And yeah, and even when you do become more mature and you develop your own relationship with God, you still need the right community and you have to use your level of discernment. You know, I said some friends get to hear about the seed, some friends get to hear about the fruit. The only friends that get to hear about my seed are the friends who have a habit of praying for me. Because the
Come
wrong
on.
people are going to poison that seed if you allow them, and then you will never bear the fruit.
This right there is a viral clip, right there. That right there is a whole viral clip. They better make sure they get this going for the promo. That is an, if you don't hear nothing else and you're trying to grow your business, if you just take that alone and apply it, you'll end up right back to all the other things Maya has said today, because that
Mhm.
is all about environment and the choices, the people you choose to be in. So obviously your journey was not one that was like you had a script and it was given like, dear Maya, you're called to the nations to help fate-driven women of color build and scale six-figure businesses. No,
Yeah.
guys,
Because
that's not how that works.
at one point, I obviously didn't start out making six figures. I didn't even make $100,000 in my business until 9 years after I first
Come
started
on,
making
tell
money
them, tell
professionally.
them,
And so
tell them.
that's important to see too, because we just think, oh, it's just an overnight thing. Now, at this day and age, with the level of technology and access that we have, it shouldn't really take anybody 9 years. But I am letting you know that there is a process to it. And
Yes.
before I made my first $100,000, like the year before I made my first $100,000, I knew that my block to making the money was not about pricing. It wasn't about getting more clients. Like, obviously, from a math standpoint, yeah, but I knew it was a mindset thing. I knew I had mentally blocked myself. And
From
my block for me was, why should I be, making all this money? Why do I even need a hundred
need
thousand?
all that money. Come
Yeah.
on.
And because I struggled with poor boundaries where I poured into a lot of people around me. If I'm like helping friends and family pay their bills, I'm like, well, what's the point of me making this money if I don't get to enjoy any of it?
Come
So
on.
my thing was I had to then spend the next few months practicing boundaries around my
Mm.
money and being a better steward of my money so that way I could receive more. Then the next year I finally made my $100,000.
Ooh, that is a formula right there, because the boundaries around your money. And I'll tell you, I remember having enough to where I did the same and I didn't have boundaries. And when I didn't even have enough anymore. I went down to be
Yeah.
able to do it. And I don't know where them people went.
Mm.
I mean, I never was able to say, hey, I mean, can you take me to dinner or something this weekend? But I was paying for their dinners in a whole nother country or whatever they had going on. And so it is not about, I'm not bitter. I wasn't even angry about it. But that is what I needed to see, like to make sense. Like, first of all, giving people stuff that they didn't earn, they have a totally different approach to it. So if God didn't tell me to do it, bye, Felicia.
That's what it is. I had this mindset of like, well, I think it was a couple things of like, well, you got to be generous because you're a Christian. And I do have a heart of generosity. That's the thing. I think it was, I didn't have the wisdom to help me with my generosity. That girl,
Right.
you're supposed to give from a place of overflow. You're supposed to give with a pure heart. And it was like, I would
Yes.
give and then have resentment. And it's like,
Yes.
don't give if you're then going to sin. If you're going to have resentment against somebody, then that is sinful. So you're not even doing what God would want you to do. So that
No,
was
you're marking the waters anyway. Like, just don't bother.
just don't bother. And so to your point, I know you said like, I don't even know where some of those people are. Some of those people are still in my life. I've just now mastered how to explain my boundaries where they know I don't need to be going to Maya for money. And now they now have an opportunity to figure stuff out. Of course, when you feel led, give. Of
Yes,
course.
of course. And that's what I say. I let God direct me. And if I don't hear his voice, and I move in my own flesh and my own self, I always have this is when I always have an issue. Either they keep coming back and they think I'm their provider, or maybe I'm salty because I did something and they didn't do something back. So when I do it God's way, it's a release. No matter what the number and the amount is, I never have to worry about it when I follow his instinct, his
Yeah.
guidance.
When we do it God's way, we create space for God's way. And what I recognize too is that I was blocking them from having the faith in God that they needed to have for the
Come
receiving that
on.
they needed because I was trying to be their savior. It's like, girl, you
Yes.
cannot
I
be.
call it my own God complex. And who told me to be God in anybody's life? I'm
Yeah.
like, did they ever say for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten daughter Alisa? And then I went on the cross. Never happened. So what am I trying to do? Replace the whole story with me in it? No. That's not gonna end up good. Just leave it
Not
alone.
going to end up good. So yes, y'all have boundaries with your money. Be generous, right? Tithe, give as you feel led, all of those things. I'm not saying to not have principles of generosity. I'm
Yes.
saying, man, if you just only pray for wisdom, you're going to be set up pretty
You're gonna
well.
be good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. So just because me and some other nosy people want to know, what was that moment when your parents saw that you were on track with what God created you to do? What did that look like?
Let me tell you, I would think that they would be proud because and when we say on track, I'm talking about financially. So it's like
Yeah.
I would share a monetary win. They're calling me, why are you telling the internet how much money that you're making? And it's like at each point when I think you should be celebrating me, you're criticizing me because like, why are you telling the internet?
Yes, that happens.
But I think it started to make sense to them when they saw that they were now beneficiaries of me doing what I felt was best for me. And so I think that's something, sometimes the people that are closest to you will not be supportive to you, not because they don't love you, mainly
No.
because they're concerned for you, but they'll start to understand when they are beneficiaries of what you have done.
It
And
gets
that's why you
crystal
have
clear.
to just have that grace. It's like, whatever, y'all gonna say whatever. But when we're at Turks and Caicos, which I took them a couple years ago on a just because trip, they wasn't saying nothing about me posting anything on any
No.
internet. They
Thinking I'm like, could you imagine me still trying to finish my PhD?
exactly
That's
my
where I'd be right now, 9 years later, just so you know, working for
exactly.
someone getting $50,000 off of the masters I got 10 years ago. So it's a thing. I mean, but we're not telling people not to don't do what you need. The point is, know that when God calls you, the answer you say is yes, I trust you, and let it all work out. That's how I feel. Just the
Yeah.
answer, just be yes, I trust you, and go boldly into, don't look back. And the earlier you do that, for the younger people who are listening, the better for you and all the people that you were put on this earth to serve, including your parents.
Yes. And for the younger people, man, there's so much more noise out right now than there was when I was 18, 19, 20, 21 years old. What I can say is please do not conform to the patterns of this world. You're going to be tempted to do all of the things that you see people doing because it appears fruitful because we see
Yes.
money tied to it, right?
Huh.
And money is great. I love money. Obviously, I have no issue with people making money and I want them to make good money. But
Yes.
even when I'm helping my clients scale, I say, I want you to scale and make more money, but I need you to be whole at the finish line. You had to
Ooh.
compromise your character to get this quote unquote fruit. The fruit is poisonous and you didn't do it in alignment. So
Oh
please
no.
make sure that you are not conforming and you're doing things in alignment with what you feel God is calling you to do, and be patient on the fruit because you at least get to be whole and live in integrity when the money and the rewards come.
Yes, and they come and they go sometimes. There's seasons. You spoke about that earlier. I we talk about Dr. Kareem has this principle where he said a lot of people would pick the fruit and run off when they could have stayed the branch and be connected to that tree that keeps providing the fruit. And I'm like, that's a done deal. Like I always keep that, and I look at a lot of people, and I could be like, the way sometimes they interact with you as someone who is really channeling something. God is using you as a facilitator, and then they're like, oh, I'm going to steal this idea, I'm going to steal this concept, or I'm going to run off here and go around your back. And I'm like, man, you know how I said, silly wabbit, tricks are for kids. In my mind, I'm like, silly, golly, man, you just messed up your whole thing. Now you're gonna have to go back around the mob. Anyway, that's your choice. Bye.
Right, you sat there and messed up your own blessing for a quick buck. But you know what?
You might dent some. You might put a little dent in something for me, but I'm connected to the tree, and it
That's it.
bears fruit in this season. So I'm always be good.
I'm always be good, but I'm
And
either way.
exactly. So, what legacy are you building, not just in your business, but through the women you're mentoring?
Man, I mean, I love seeing when they are creating impact with their own clients and with their own family. I love when my clients are like, I was finally able to pay this off, or I could take my family here, or now I need a financial advisor because I'm now building wealth. I had a client who years ago, who she was a Christian wife coach. And I don't even know if I had ever heard of a wife coach, but I knew I had the skill sets to help her make money and get people inside her program. So she built this program to help wives who wanted to mend their relationship. They wanted to be more supportive wives. They wanted to have, you know, a prayerful relationship with their husband. Cool. She
Awesome,
built it,
though.
sent her on her way. She was an alumni. Every year she would come to my event, pray for her, support her, give her strategies wherever she needed it. Then years later, somebody else joins my program or comes to my event, and she's a lawyer, something that's obvious. It's, you're a lawyer, you need more clients, cool, here's the strategy. And it was interesting because she was like, you know, somebody who was in your program helped me save my marriage. And I was like, wow,
Wow.
that is the impact. That is the legacy. It's not, oh, we're celebrating the 5-figure launches. Yes, that's amazing. I love that my clients are making
Money.
100,000,
That's the
200,000.
byproduct. Yeah.
It's the byproduct. It's the transformation. It's the impact. It's knowing, dang, that we pissed off the enemy because we have one more godly marriage and we didn't break up another home. And now their kids
Yes.
get to see what a loving home looks like. And that pours into their legacy, into their family.
Yes.
That's what I love to see with the work that I do.
Absolutely legacy. Oh, that makes me so excited. And that's what infuses, like, yeah, seeing the numbers in your bank account is awesome, and having, the freedom to be debt free, or those are big things that we all want, and you want to see for people. But that's legacy, really, because I say we don't get to, we take, I created the triple I effect principle, which is income, influence, impact, influence, and income. And I'm like, of those three I's, only two of them are left when we're gone.
Mm.
The one I, income, we don't take that anywhere. And people never really say, oh, Bill, what's the guy, the Apple guy? Sometimes my names go around in my brain.
Who, Tim Cook?
Yeah, Tim Cook, the one before it, the one that, not the current one, the one that passed.
Um, Steve.
Yeah, Steve Jobs, right.
Yeah.
No one sits there and be like, Steve Jobs died and he left $2.5 billion. No, we don't talk about it. We talk about how tenacious he was. We talk about his character, his strength, his grit, and the Apple products that came as a result of it. That is the impact and the influence that's left of those three I's. And so that is what legacy, I mean, everybody has their own terminology, what it means to them, but I know for sure it's inside those lives that are changed. And they'll live on and go on even without people remembering who Maya was.
Yes, I love that.
But
So
you would, I don't know, in my mind, I think you're somewhere thinking, I love watching how that all worked out.
I love watching and how it all worked out. And I think what's even more beautiful, it's like when my name is long gone, as long as, even just for that family, if, healthy, godly marriage is something that continues, God gets the glory. And
Yeah.
that's literally the point of it all. It's not for me to get the credit. My work at the end of the day is for God to get the glory. And that's what makes it all.
Absolutely. And I believe that this is where the scripture, your children's children would see elevated forms of marriages. If you're planting, I feel like the seed is a seed still. It's always seed. Every life, every home that you impact are seeds that you're also leaving a legacy for your children and your children's children. It's just the Bible, it's just scripture.
Yeah.
So let's talk, flip the script. I've got a little bit more of a rapid fire for you. One scripture that guides your business journey.
Oh, let's see. I would say whatever thy hands find to do, do it with all thy might. I think that should be Ecclesiastes 9:10. I just love it, especially because where I am in my business, it's easy for me to be comfortable. It's like, oh, I've seen all the success. I could do a little bit here, I could do a little bit there. But it's like, what happens when you put in 100%? What happens when you use your hands, you take your action, and you give it your absolute best?
I love that. I love it. A business book that changed your mindset.
Ooh, man. That's a good one. I will say Traction by Gino Wickman. I really like that. I read that book when I had my first $100,000 month and my first $1 million year. So I'll say that taught me a lot about how I think and scaling and being organized about growing my team.
I'm gonna have to check that one out. I haven't heard of it before. Best
Yeah.
advice you've ever received.
Ooh. Oh, man, I've received so much advice over the years. Let's see, what is some great advice that I've been able to receive? I think a really good piece of advice that I received is that one of the best ways to express our gratitude to God is to take our gifts and do something with it versus trying to just be prove that we're so grateful for what we have that we don't do anything. It's almost
Mm,
kind of like the parable of the talents, right? My dad used to always tell me that,
yes.
but it was like, if you really want to show God your gratitude, take the gifts he's given to you and make the very best of it.
It. How I love that. That's a mindset. What does mastery mean to you?
Oh, mastery is something that you have been able to do over and over and over that it can just come so easily to you. You could do it in your sleep. You could do it without having to think. You could do it without researching. Somebody asks you a question, it comes out of you fluently. Somebody asks you to do it, you're able to do it in flow. Mastery is like, the level of confidence that you have, nobody can tell you that you're not the best at it.
Come on, I love that. And finally, after all the misfires, wins, highs, lows, and ultimately you're a completely successful woman in the eyes of every standard. What is success for you?
Oh, success is being able to do what I desire without feeling limited about my bank account or feeling limited in any area of my life and being able to do it with integrity.
Ooh, I love that. Oh my gosh. Wow, Maya. We do something that's called Mindset Bites to go where I give you 90 seconds to 2 minutes to just share with the listeners and viewers as if it was your last thing to say to the world. What would you say? I step away from the camera and the mic and I see your brains going. She's like, which one of the great things I'm going to say? And it's just you on camera. I think that's going to become its own little series. And because here we go. I'm going to step away and you go for it.
Oh gosh, I am on the hot seat for real. But if I had to say my final words, it would be ask God to reveal to you who you are. Get very clear on your identity because that is the one thing that the enemy is after. Because if you don't know who you are, you're not going to be able to fulfill your purpose because your purpose was assigned to your true identity. So you need to get clear on your true identity. Ask God who you are in your true identity. And then, second, ask God to give you the courage to live out your true identity. Some of you know who you truly are, but you're too fearful, you're too doubtful to live out who you truly are. So ask Him for the courage. And then lastly, ask him for the community and the support to be in the right environments to easily live out your identity so you never find yourself shrinking.
Well, keep telling them, give me a mic I could drop because I can't. Like, that is everything. Everything. It sums up everything that she shared with us today. It will come down to that, to this. Maya, thank you so much for reminding us that strategy and spirit is not separate. Tell us how we connect with you. Of course, you all know we always have it in the bio, but someone's listening and they can't wait when they get out their vehicle to go straight to your website.
Yes, yes. So, of course, if you want to connect with me on Instagram at Maya Elious, MAYAELIOUS, or if you want to go to my website, I know I have a free resource there for you for messaging, launching, branding. Go to mayaelious.com, MAYAELIOUS.com.
Absolutely. You will see her beautiful website. She has such a gorgeous website, and she is the woman. I'm looking forward to connecting with you and continue working with you and having you back on the show for a special edition that we're going to do later on. I'll let you know. But you've given us the permission to believe big and build bold, and we're better because of it. Thank you so much, Maya, for being here with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Disruptors, if this episode lit a fire in you, share it with someone who's ready to rise with purpose. And remember to keep mastering your mindset. Go and let Maya know you heard her here on Mindset Mastery Moments. And share this with someone that needs the encouragement today and need to make the shift and needs to work with Maya. They don't ask me to promote it, but I know there's a lot of women that are in tune with this podcast that you need to step out boldly, believe God and fate, and just ask and let her help you navigate clarity. I know I'll be working with her on some things that I'm working on in my own journey. So you don't get presented with information for just any reason. Your path is crossed and you're listening to this episode for a reason, to make it count for you today. Remember to go to mindsetmasterymoments.com, catch all the episodes, subscribe, keep liking and subscribing. Let us know that you love Mindset Mastery Moments. I'm Dr. Alisa with my co-host today, Maya Elious, saying have a great day. Keep mastering your mindset. Bye now.